Hello lads and ladies, Brad the Fixologist here. Welcome to the final video in this series on the service and restoration of this 36-year-old John Deere I got free from the curb on trash day. So far in our attempt to save this one from the scrap heap, we've gotten the engine running, rebuilt the original starter, then had to replace that starter, changed the front tires, valve stems, battery, removed the deck, and transaxle. And in this video, we'll address the faulty brakes, install a new idler drive pulley, change both the drive belts and the mower deck belt, reassemble everything, and see if we got a machine that's worth all the trouble. Hope you enjoy. Alright, well, one thing we actually can do is work on the brakes. This is the brake rotor right here. And there's a pad inside of this mechanism right here. So if I take these two screws off, this whole thing will come off with the pad intact. This piece right here is, connects to the linkage to the foot pedal, and it's cammed. So whenever the foot pedal's depressed, there are two little pins that are frozen solid. One here, one over there. They need to be knocked loose and then cleaned and reinserted into this right here, and the pad is probably okay. And just judging by the rotor up here, this brake has probably been frozen for quite some time. These tractors don't take a lot of stopping power if you're on flat ground. The only time you would need really brakes is if you're on a hilly surface, and then when your brakes go out, you'll really wish you had them. But I probably wouldn't even need them here, but they do need to be repaired, so we've got this off anyway. We might as well go ahead and fix it. This is not metric. 10 millimeter is too big, so it's not metric. So the reason it's not metric is because this transmission was made by Tecumseh. Crafted with pride in the USA. That's the Tecumseh logo, I think. So the transmission was made by Tecumseh for John Deere for these tractors. Interesting. So it's not, none of it's metric. The Kawasaki stuff is all metric for the engine, but then it goes to this and it goes back to standard. That's another reason why, you know, something like this is a little bit of a pain in the ass to work on. It probably would have been nice if everything was just standard or metric, one or the other. Then you wouldn't have to drag out all your tools. But yep, that's 3/8. The other thing too is about these bolts. These bolts are partially exposed here on the side. They're not completely shrouded, so it's not going to be a surprise if this is difficult to get off or if I break a bolt trying to get these off. Come on, baby, don't break on me. Don't do it. Don't break on me. Ah, shit. Ooh, don't break on me. Come on, baby. I'm going to spray that before it breaks on me. Ah, man, that sucker's on there. Felt like it moved, so please don't break. Please don't break. It's gonna break. Did I get it without breaking it? No, I did not. I rounded it off. And I broke it. It's broken. So add that to the list. Okay, so here is the brake pad. Here's where the bolt goes through. You can see it's exposed all through here. And this was exposed as well, and it broke, leaving half of the screw in the body. So I'll have to extract that somehow. I hope I don't have to drill and tap it. And the brake pad is still there. That would probably last another good long while. But those pins, like I said, that push it forward, they're in here behind this block and they need to be tapped out. So we'll go ahead and tap those out. There we go. The little shim fell out so you can actually see them now. See those two pins? Okay, so there are the culprits for why the brake wasn't working. So I'm gonna take these and wire wheel these up real good, clean these shafts out. Gotta take a little break too because I'm starting to get lightheaded out here right now. So we'll come back to this. Okay, so if you missed the video where I took this transaxle off, I'll put a link to the entire playlist of this restoration on this thing. But like I said, this hopefully is the last video anyway, because I have the pulley in now, which is I think the last thing that I needed to get this thing back to mowing grass. I'll spray some in that hole right there too. I might as well. So there's actually two pads on this thing. There's one that goes on the front that goes in this piece, and there's another one on the back side of this. Let's see, there's the pad. You can see how much wear was on the pad. There's still a lot of meat on the pad, but you can see, like right here, you can see how it was even set up against the wheel. Like here's a spot where it didn't touch the wheel, and there's a spot. So that's the original height of the pad, probably right there. So it's not too far off even its original height. We're gonna let that sit for a little while. Let the penetrating oil try to get down in there. In the meantime, I'm going to take these parts outside, and I'll much rather use the wire wheel outside, so we'll wire wheel all these parts off for the brakes, and then come back and hopefully extract that and reassemble the brakes. Okay, it's going in there free now. That's looking pretty good, I have to say. Way better than it was. Okay, let's see if we can extract this stubborn screw right here out of this transaxle. If we can't get this out easily, this is going to be a chore. That's a pretty obvious statement. If we can't do it easy, it's going to be hard. I like Word. I like them. Words are good, baby. Okay, that's about as tight as I'm going to be able to get that on there, so let's try it. Come on, baby. Turn for me. Oh, man, it ain't going to turn. It ain't going to turn, I don't believe. Turn easy. What I might do is grind off one side here and grind off the other side over here so that I get sort of a square shaped on the thing. Okay, so you can see there it's a lot. It's flat on one side. So the idea is maybe I can get some vice grips on that with the flat side. It's one to roll off the bottom side now. Well, that son of a bitch is on there. It's on there. Probably could use a torch. I do not have a torch. Okay, that's about as hot as I'm going to be able to make it, I think. Alright. Come on, baby. This damn thing is in the way. I think if that was out of the way, I might be able to get it. Yeah, the absolute last thing I want to do is break this off right now. Getting a great grip on it. Definitely say that. Oh boy. Okay, that's going to pry off there and it's hot. So there's the brake rotor off. Pad right here. Set it aside. Alright, I think I'm going to do another round of heat and just keep working at it. This is the best grip I've gotten on it so far. Oh man, it's just gonna round it off again. Come on, baby. Just break loose. Break loose. Oh, I think it is. Is it breaking? It is. It's broken. Haha, it's broken loose. You fucker. Oh. Oh, look at that. Look at that beautiful thing right there. That's lovely. Look at that. We got her. We got her. There we go. Man, that was something right there. Okay. Oh, I thought for sure we were going to have to drill and tap it. My problem is I don't have any taps. I need a tap set. Down in the comments, recommend a good tap set. I'll probably be on the lookout for one at maybe an estate sale or something like that. But if you have experience with taps, a lot of them, let me know which ones work best. All right. So there we go. So what got it out? It was a combination of things. We used heat, we used impact, and we shaped the end so we could get a good grip on it. But man, whew, that was tough. But you can see what's happened. It's, you know, it's gotten, the problem is this case is aluminum and this bolt is steel, and the interaction between aluminum and steel over time is just not good. So, you know, that's one of the drawbacks of an aluminum case like that. All right, now the brakes. That pad's got a lot of meat on it. I think that pad is probably okay. I'm gonna get a little bit of fresh grease on there. Right, so that actually pulled off relatively easily. If you need to pull your brakes apart, try some heat on this. It should come apart pretty easily if it's anything like mine. So that part's done. We've got all the parts cleaned, and it's time to reassemble this. See how this is made? Okay, right here. You know, we've got this half open bit right here. And I suppose that's good in one way, because you can spray penetrating oil or something down in there if you need to, if you're getting the thing apart. But the other thing that can get in there is grime, dirt, water, you know, and that's where the thing broke. It was just right in here, so it weakened all that with rust. So just not a good design. I'm gonna wire wheel that off for sure. Okay, off to find preferably a pair of bolts, because this one's got a little bit of wear here in the middle, and I'd rather bypass any future problems.
Take care of it.
Only one way to take care of it.
Nip it.
In the bud.
Right.
This bolt was slightly longer than the original bolt, so I'm using some, and also the threads I think on this are just a really weird size, so I'm going one size smaller, and it's working out. There's a little bit of play in there, which actually might be a good thing. Okay. This is the locking nut right here, so if your brakes get soft later on, you can come in here and just tighten this up a couple turns and firm this up, and then that should firm your brakes up too. It's loose enough that it isn't constantly under pressure, but it's tight enough so that when you do apply pressure to the brake, it's gonna put that pad against there and hopefully stop hopefully stop the mower. Brakes are done. It is time to get this transaxle back on. Okay, so here's the other part that I was kind of dreading. So that pulley right back there, that has a spring on it. It's attached back here, and it has this spring, which is keeping it snapped over there into place. I have a hole right up here. I'm going to try to get this screwdriver into that hole, maybe this hole or this hole, one of the two, and hold that back out of the way so I can get this transaxle back up where it belongs. So pulling it back is easy enough, but the problem is getting it past one of these holes and getting that screwdriver in without being able to see where the hole is. The other problem is keeping it back out of the way, but at the same time being out of the way for this linkage and this linkage over here with the brake. Okay, that's getting me up into the starter. I don't want to be right there where the starter is because I might short something. I think I'm just going to try to take this spring off. Oh shit, that might be easier said than done. That's definitely going to be easier said than done. Geez, how am I going to do this, man? I mean, that one might work. Okay, let's try it again. Let's just get this. Okay, it's right there. The way I have to grab this is not good. Okay, well, stand by. Okay, I have an idea here. I'm going to come in from the top with a little short stubby screwdriver. There's a hole back there. I think I can get this through from the top. Okay, well, it's there. As for whether or not it's going to be completely out of the way, I don't know yet. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's going to be right in my way when I try to get this up there. Any of y'all want to give me a hand with this? Could really use a hand. You're just sitting there watching me. Bunch of bastards. This side is on, and yes, there is clearance. All right. Well, it's on there, roughly. She's on there. I don't know how apparent this is on video, but it's kind of not very fun. Especially when I've got a wasp now flying in my face. Okay, linkage time. I've got one of these for the go-go linkage, and I got one of these for the stop-stop linkage. Why is the brake linkage so far off? I need to depress it, don't I? I need to depress the brake. Okay. The brake is depressed. Need to loosen it. Okay. There, that's better. Yep, and then this goes up and up the clip. There it is. Okay, brake is attached. Now then, throttle. I think I need to put it which way? Go this way a little bit. Nope, wrong way. Let me get it back. Okay, well, alright, well, that's fucking reverse. Hang on. Wait a minute. Okay, first this has to go. Hang on. Shit. You fucker. Okay. This is gonna be really hard to see for you. And I'm sorry about that. But man, this just ain't no fun at all. Harder to get on than it was to get it off. Please tell me that's on there. Nope. What in the fuck is this getting hung on? It's getting hung on. There's a bolt right there. It keeps getting hung on. Be nice if just a half inch of clearance. It would be real nice right now. Son of a bitch. You f***. There's a bolt. It keeps getting hung on the bolt and then it snaps past it. Dumbass f***. You know what? I'm thinking about leaving it without the stupid clip on it because I don't think it's going to go anywhere anyway. The only pause that I have on this is if it does fall out when I've got it all back together, that's going to really make me mad. Okay, what I ended up doing, I don't know if you can see that or not, but I ended up just cutting off the one part of that clip so that I can get it on a little bit easier. That's you know, really my best way of getting this on right now. And it's still gonna hold. Bastard mother. There we go. Okay. Alright, the clip is on. My God. Transaxle's up, linkages are on. I've got a connection here for this is one of the kills for the start. It's just a switch that's telling the ignition system that it's in neutral. So that gets connected. What else? Am I missing anything else? I don't think so. I think at this point we're ready for belts, or well, time for tires. Then drop it, and then flip it, and then yeah, and then belts. I'm just gonna clean this axle a little bit and then grease it up. The tire doesn't move on the axle, it moves with the axle, but it's still good to have a little grease on there to help get it on and off. And we've got keys. Here's one key. I'm going to try to match my women's powerlifting record. All right, there we are back on four wheels. I'm going to wait until there's some shade before I get back out here and try to do these belts. I do need to go ahead though and take the battery out before I forget, because it can't be tilted on its side. I'm going to have to tilt the mower on its side to put the belts on. So I don't know why you guys didn't tell me before I put the transaxle back in to put the replacement pulley on the transaxle. I'm pretty sure I could still reach it without taking it back out, so we're good. But still, would have been a hell of a lot simpler. Okay, we're gonna get that pulley in there now. It shouldn't be too difficult. Some people online who have worked on this particular family of mowers, these models, they lean the steering wheel on a jack stand. The problem with that is jack stands are really small and there's not enough room for error. Definitely use a concrete block instead of a jack stand if you have a concrete block. Okay, now that is how it's supposed to move on the bearing. Okay. So this goes through here, and there's a spacer. The nut goes on top, of course. This is gonna be too hard with gloves. Can't feel what I'm doing. I'm forgetting the guard. So there's a spacer, and then the guard. Okay. Okay, we're just going to put that on loosely for the moment because we have to loosen it up anyway to get the belts on. Okay, so here are our part numbers on these. The one that ends in 45 is the primary, and the one that ends in 70 is the secondary. The secondary has to go on first because it's the furthest up in there. So the secondary. First thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to bring this idler wheel down further than we currently have it. We've got it stuck in there with that short screwdriver, but we need a longer one. We'll bring this down. I gotta find a good place to hold this on. I mean, that probably would hold it, but I don't really trust it. Let's see. Let me see. I don't want to stick my hands up in there with that thing. Okay. That's pretty well wedged right there. All right. So this belt goes, it's got to go over the top of the transmission. So you got to kind of turn this thing sideways, I think, to get it in there. Okay. Have that right. Pull that down. Okay, so what I've done is gone in from the rear and got it around this pulley back here. Hopefully I can make this work. Okay. I felt a lot more at ease. There's some videos online that tell you to put your hands up in here and snake it over this way across this direction, but I snaked it around the back way instead, and I felt a lot more at ease because the pressure on this is pretty immense, and if you let go of that, it's gonna hurt. May even take a finger or two. And being a guitarist, I don't know if I want to lose any fingers today, so I'm just gonna do that instead. Go around the other way. Okay, so the secondary belt is around the top pulley, up back there in the back, and then it goes around the big transmission pulley back there. And we just got to get it on the transmission pulley. And it is resting on this, and when we pull this out, that's going to snap into place and put tension on it after it gets around that. There we go. Okay, now that is on and appears to be working. The primary uses this snake right here, and we're going to use our new pulley on this primary. It's got to go around this. First of all, this is the belt. This is the drive from the motor. So we know it's got to go around that. Okay, and then it's got to go around this pulley, the new one that we put on. So we're going to turn sideways here and get up and around that one. Boom. And then down around this one, boom, and then back up and around that one. Possible I've done this backwards. It's possible. Very possible. In fact, it's probable. Get up on there. Get up on there. Get up on there. Come on. You can do it. Okay. Come on, buddy. Oh, fucking roll, you son of a bitch. Come on, roll. Roll for me. Roll for me. There we go. Now then. There we go. Oh boy, okay, that was fun. All right, so what I did was I got it over the new pulley first, and then brought it down around here, snaked it around, and then I got it up over this last, starting with this side, and then kind of rolling this as I put it on this way. And it seemed to work out okay. Now I just got to tighten up this guide. The belt is on the wrong side of the guide. See that right there? The belt's on the wrong side of the guide, so I've got to put it on the right side. The correct side, I should say. Now it's on the correct side of the guide. And the guide goes up over the fin of the trans. And it now is. I put this on backwards. I put the nut on the top of this pulley because I did not want to pull this back out. So the nut's on top and the bolt head is on the bottom. It should still be okay. I just got to reach up in there and get something on it. This is actually better than okay. It's better than factory, in fact. From the factory, they had the bolt coming in from the top, and they had the nut on the bottom of the transaxle, which meant that when you took the nut off the bottom, the bolt could not be taken out of the top. It would hit against the bottom of the lawnmower chassis. So you had to drop the transaxle completely out of this machine in order to change that bad pulley. In the future, you won't have to do this. You just undo the nut at the top and then take the pulley off and change it. Way better. Okay, well, all right. Last couple things, there's a couple guides. There is a guide right here. This guide should be like a 10 millimeter. Alright, we just want it on there so it doesn't kind of fly itself off, but we don't want it rubbing, so there it is. Got a couple more belt guides. Alright, we've got this one that goes here. And it goes like this. Alright, this belt actually has to be under it. And that's going to be tough. Especially now that the damn thing's on. So admittedly, I had to end up referring to some pictures from a service manual that I found online that showed how to change these belts and how the guides were supposed to be on there. If you watch some videos online, I think a couple guys who put these belts on other channels had them wrong. So make sure you check the original source material, the service manual. Okay, so the steering on this hasn't been all that great up until now. There are some grease points on this. There's a grease nipple right there, or a zert nipple, whatever you want to call it. Grease point. I need to grease that. There's another one over here on this side. Need to grease that side as well. Put some grease here on this whole gear mechanism, and that's going to help the steering quite a bit, I believe. Alright guys, one more thing we need to do before we can call it a day on this John Deere. This piece, which is the plastic piece that goes over the pair of controls on the right hand side of the machine. We've got a piece that's broken right here, so that plastic needs to be reattached, and this plastic is broken here. This is going to be more than just a little bit of glue. I'm going to mix up some epoxy and epoxy these. But then I'm going to come back in here and I'm actually going to melt some reinforcement in here so that that hopefully doesn't happen again. There are the specs on the wire that I'm using, but you don't have to use this exact wire or anything like that. I'm just using this because I happen to have it around. And it's pretty rigid. Really what you need is just something that's pretty rigid. You need to find the most rigid piece of solid core wire that you have that's not overly thick. You see there's a difference between a solid core wire like this solid wire and then this wire, which is made up of multiple tiny strands. Like speaker wire usually will be made of this, and power cables and stuff like that will usually be made of this type of wire. This is not what you want. Oops. Just broke my soldering iron. So that is how you reinforce an epoxy repair on a piece of plastic if you don't want it to break again. Okay, I did decide to come over this and pretty much bury my repair in epoxy on the bottom. So there's a big puddle of the stuff over the top of my entire repair. So it has buried those pieces of metal under a bunch of epoxy, and it's also buried inside of the plastic. It probably would have been fine without this extra step, but that's definitely going to ensure that that never cracks in that same spot again. Now those are going to be the strongest two parts of this entire piece. We'll get it back on the mower as soon as that cures. Alright guys, so that's going to do it for this restoration series on this circa 1987 to 1990 John Deere RX95. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. If you have, hit subscribe on this channel and we'll do more stuff like this in the future. I just hit the house and kind of scraped my fresh paint a second ago. There's a little lip right there, and I kind of ran head first into it. It's no biggie. We'll fix that. Maybe sometime down the road, if I get a little bit more money to spend on silly projects, they actually make a decal kit for this. I found it on a website. I'll put it down in the description too, the website where you can get the decal kit. Also, I'll put any relevant technical information links down in the description as well. And for now, we will see y'all later.